Okay, so as promised, we're going to take a look at this severe weather threat that's going to happen today, or I should say later tonight. There's a moderate risk, as you can clearly see, just in case you want to see what counties are affected. There you go. Pause, take a look at that. We're going to get this off because that's blocking a lot of the view. There's a pretty large moderate enhanced risk. Even enhanced is bad. Like it's not as high end as moderate. But you still have to remember, this is still level 3 out of 5. There's definite threats. Slight and marginal are a bit less dangerous, but you can still get stuff to happen in those. This is a huge storm system. Tornado looks like the biggest threats to the south. It's weird because, I think it's going to be linear further to the north, but it might be a broken line more to the south, so... And maybe the actual supercells that are truly isolated will be really far to the south. I don't know. The model runs kind of seem like it's more embedded in a line. So I don't know how much credence I give to, significant tornadoes, but the SPC is paid to do this, so maybe they know better than I do. Wind threat, yeah, look at this. You can see this is definitely a linear threat. That's where the moderate risk is the wind threat. 45% hatched. There's even, if you can hear, I'm doing this in the car, if you can hear 45, there's pretty strong non-severe winds. And I believe these storms are going to be booking it. So one thing you have to understand about storms that are booking it is storm relative winds don't have to be that high if the storm itself is moving really fast for it to be severe wind gusts. Hail, yeah, that's more supercellular. So again, it looks like the threat is more supercellular to the south and linear to the north. Let's take a look at the NAM nest. This is the most recent run. It has stuff starting to fire. At, what is this? This is 20Z. I believe 24Z or 0Z is 6 o'clock, so that's 2 o'clock it starts. Missouri's being heavily impacted by 5. Look at all these helicity swaths. This is going to be a tornado after dark threat. Look at this. Look at all these helicity swaths. So yeah, and it looks more broken down to the south. It's weird though. It seems like a lot of the threat is in this line that forms and comes across Illinois. So I don't know, but clearly there's a risk to the south. So I don't know. The model doesn't seem to be picking this up very effectively. Of course, it's not as detailed as the high-resolution rapid refresh. So let's take a look at that. Most recent run has some weaker convection going through, fizzling out. 16Z is when things start to fire. So that's not that far off. And I mean, look at the helicity swaths. This is kind of like a hybrid between a supercell and line. And look at how fast this thing's going, too. Look at how fast this is going. You're not going to have much warning time if this comes to you. This has a lot of helicity swaths. Again, supercellular to the south and more linear to the north with embedded circulations. And just for fun, well, let's go to the end of the run, which is at 10Z. Still helicity swaths, but it looks like finally it's starting to weaken a bit. But there is a threat down south, but I'll go over that tomorrow. And it probably, honestly, is going to be worse than this threat, so that's not good. Let's just take a look at the 15Z model run, just for comparison. Has the same fizzling out convection. This seems to have it firing slightly later, but that might not be good because there's more daytime heating and more time for stuff to advect northward. Still has, oh yeah, this has it going through later, I think. Still a lot of helicity swaths with a lot of broken cells to the south and more linear with embedded to the north. there's definitely a threat for, like, I mean, realistically, I think someone mentioned this could be a derecho event, which would make sense. This doesn't show, I think, let's take a look at the convective products, but like, so here's the Cape. Take a look at where that cusp is happening, because that's where the line of storms is coming through. Cape isn't actually that high, but this is going to be a dynamically forced system, so Cape doesn't need to be high if there's a giant wedge of cold air forcing air upward. Either way, I mean, there's definitely some Cape down to the south, but I feel like to the north, it's going to be a bit more limited. But you can still get tornadic circulations in these types of things. It just probably, I don't know. Well, they are saying there's a hatched risk, so clearly there is some risk of high-end tornadoes, but I don't know. This doesn't look ideal for those, at least in Illinois. Down south in Missouri, there's definitely a greater threat. I agree with that, with the Cape values. Let's take it the supercell composite, because why not? Yeah, look at that. That's not good. Pink. Well, clearly there's some supercell threat down here, or in Illinois too. You can just see this air advecting northward. So it definitely seems like, according to this run at least, which I should compare to the next run that's out now, this one has more of a risk into central Illinois. I don't know. I feel like there's definitely a significant risk throughout this area. Further south you go, the worse it gets. Yeah, I mean, this has like reds fizzling out at the Illinois border, but still, like, that's not good. There's definitely a threat of supercells throughout this area in this line, even in areas where it's not broken. And again, these storms are going to be really booking it, so you have to understand, well, this is 14Z, let's go back to 16Z. You have to understand as well, this is even worse. You have to understand also that these storms are going to be moving really fast, so you're not going to have a lot of warning time with them. This is one of those, like, really big spring events where the system is forcing everything, and the system tends to have these cold fronts that just book it through, and it has these low-top supercells that are forced by it. So there might not be a lot of lightning, but that doesn't mean that there's not a big threat. Low-top supercells are dangerous because I think they tend to move faster, and there's also the problem that, again, they don't produce lightning, so you just think, oh, it's a rainstorm. No, it's not. There might be a tornado there. So, yeah, I'm interested and a bit worried about this. Let's just take a look at tomorrow for fun. Oh, they upgraded it to high. Not good. Not good at all. And this is day 2, remember, so the fact that this is so confident in day 2, this is bad. This is pretty darn bad. Keep an eye on this. And there's a slight risk the next day. Might be upgraded, because, again, the further out you go, the less confidence they have. Let's take a look at tornado threat. 30%, that is not good at all. Wind and hail, yeah, this could be a pretty big tornado-producing event. And it's hatched, so this could be long-track supercell tornadoes. That, if you live in this area, you need to be paying attention to this. I'm going to try to update it tomorrow, but I'm concerned about this.